Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tabor Talk. It's Wednesday, April 14th. Not such a nice day here in the Catskills, but at least the temperature is okay. So, well, some sad news, I guess. When anyone dies, even a scumbag like Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff, 83 years old, died today in prison. The Ponzi scam guy died today, 83 years old. So over the past few years, my wife and I talked frequently about how you think Donald Trump will suffer the same fate, right? Both criminal gangsters. Will Trump someday be indicted by New York, go to prison, and there you go, die in prison? So, by the way, very, very tragic when you think about it. It's like he didn't have to do this. Bernie Madoff was a brilliant guy, made a lot of money legitimately, and then he turned into this Ponzi scheme scandal and ripped off hundreds of millions of dollars, old people, everyone. Really, just an awful person. But you have to say why, right? So Bernie Madoff sentenced to life in prison, from all these huge mansions and buildings into chains put in a cage. All right, so Bernie Madoff dead, and by the way, his son committed suicide by hanging 2 years after Madoff was sentenced, and then his other son sadly died of cancer. So it's a real, the whole all around, it's just very, very sad, depressing. So let me play a little clip here with Bernie Madoff. Here we go.
Hey, Mr. Madoff, what do you say?
His name, synonymous with fraud. In 2009, Bernie Madoff pleaded guilty to what is likely the largest financial scam in history. The one-time Wizard of Wall Street ran a $65 billion scheme.
Wow.
Wall Street fraud who masterminded the largest Ponzi scheme in history is going to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Wall Street's biggest swindler ever, now behind bars.
A classic
I hope
Ponzi
that happens
scheme.
to Trump,
Madoff
right?
used new investors'
We'll
money
see.
to pay back the old ones. It was fronted through Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities, the Wall Street firm he founded in 1960 and ran until his arrest in December 2008. Madoff's victims ranged from celebrities like Kevin Bacon, Kira Sedgwick, former talk show host Larry King,
Larry
and the
King.
owner of the Mets. They were international banks, companies, charities, and thousands of individual investors. Born Bernard Lawrence Madoff, he grew up in Queens, New York, and graduated from Hofstra University on Long Island. He started his small trading firm when he was 22 years old with $5,000 he saved
See?
from summer jobs and
What a
a loan from
story.
his father-in-law. And by the late 1980s, Madoff was one of the highest paid people on Wall Street, living in a penthouse on
Look at
Manhattan's
that.
Upper East Side, buying yachts, cars, vacation homes, and country club memberships. By the 90s, he'd made a name for himself, delivering consistent, better-than-average returns for his exclusive clients.
Let me just pause.
Concerns
Like, just
about
such a
Madoff's
brilliant guy. Like, why? He could have made all this money, not that much, but legitimately. And like, I just don't understand these people. Like, how much money is enough? I mean, are you any happier with hundreds of millions of dollars? Say you're a millionaire, like you need. I just don't understand it. Basically, when your basic needs are met, food, shelter, love. I mean, look at me. I wouldn't want any more money. I'm just absolutely content. Like, what if I had another huge cabin or mansion or plane with my name on it? I just don't understand these guys. But let me continue on.
practices surfaced as early as 1999, when financial analyst Harry Markopolos complained to the Securities and Exchange Commission, but his warnings went nowhere.
I gift wrapped and delivered the largest Ponzi scheme in history to them, and somehow they couldn't be bothered to conduct a thorough and proper investigation.
Madoff's lies began to unravel in 2008 when the financial crisis triggered investors to make withdrawals from his fund. Madoff was unable to find new investors to pay off the old ones. On December 10th, 2008, he told his sons, who worked in his firm as traders, that the investment fund was one big lie.
I don't know who.
In an interview with 60 Minutes, his wife Ruth described the moment he confessed.
I was kind of paralyzed. Bernie got up and said, I'm going back to the office.
Was he emotional in any way?
I don't remember that either. He must have been.
Apologetic in any way?
Probably, yes.
So, Mark, here's
Madoff's son, Mark, hanged himself on
Oh,
the second
my
anniversary of his
God.
father's arrest. His other son, Andrew, died of cancer 4 years
It's
later.
terrible.
For his crimes, Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in federal
150
prison.
years.
Even from behind bars, he insisted he did no
Look
harm.
at that.
Did people lose profits that they thought they made? Yes. But did they lose capital? I'm sure, I'm confident that when this thing is all finished, very few people, if any, will lose their principal.
Yeah,
A
right.
quarter of the stolen money has not been returned to investors.
CNN's chief business correspondent, Christine Romans. She's covered this scandal from the beginning. She's back with me. You covered this extensively. Enormous
I'll put this
repercussions of this,
whole thing
for
in the
his own
comment
family,
section.
certainly, but many thousands of investors who
Gotta have
lost
some of
a
my
lot.
freedom. I keep this
Tell us
between my
what we
cheek and
know,
gum.
what we know about the circumstances of
It's
his
just
death.
such a sad and
Yeah,
tragic
yeah.
story. He died at 82 years old. The Bureau
82.
of Prisons tells us he was in Butner, North Carolina, serving a sentence of 150 years.
Jesus
A couple
Christ.
of years ago, recently he had asked, to be let out because he was near end-stage renal failure. Now we have the COVID, but he was
I think
declined.
I
So we're
would've.
told he died of natural causes. But the life of this man, just stunning, the extent of the deceit and the lies. Going back maybe to the
Donald
beginning
Trump,
of his
same fate.
career in the mid-1970s, he styled himself as the Wizard of Wall Street, but really his name is synonymous with fraud and the biggest fraud we've ever seen.
Donald
The
Trump,
Ponzi
same
scheme that he
shit. Well, we don't want to. I mean, the whole thing is precedent. Like, are we going to start arresting ex-presidents, right? With Nixon and Watergate, Ford pardoned him, the whole thing. So, all right. Sad day. Well, he was an absolute scumbag and ripped off a lot of people. But the whole story is just very, very tragic and sad, and never. Unfortunately, things could have turned out obviously differently. Okay. On that note, good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience, peace, love, and understanding here on Tabor Talk. Trump, jail, prison, die in prison. All right.